So predictably, Chris Dittmar beating Chris Walker 3-love, but an upset with Peter Marshall beating the world champion 3-love. Andrew?
Well, I think Rodney's not on form at the moment. That showed it. Peter Marshall was running around all over the place, getting the ball back. Rodney just didn't have the patience to stay in the game. He made the mistakes, and that's what gave Peter the match. I think it's going to be a little bit of a different story, though, against Chris Dittmar.
Yes, well, after the semi-finals, I talked to the two finalists. So, Peter Marshall, one of tonight's finalists in the final of the Grasshopper Cup 92, 20 years of age, and you're British champion and British #1.
Yeah, I won the British Closed in January this year. I've been British #1 before, but to win the British Closed was a really good title to win.
You had a great game last night. You beat Rodney Martin, the world champion, in 3 straight sets. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, the first game was very close. I think I was down about 8-4, 8-5, and I managed to win. And probably whoever won the first was going to win the match. And I don't think probably Rodney's quite back to his full fitness yet after his injury. But yeah, I was pleased to win.
So, what would you say are the advantages of using 2 hands for you? What would you say?
Probably one of the main things is deception. It's something different. So, I think some players find when they first play me, I'm quite difficult to read. So that's probably the main advantage.
And the disadvantage is playing with 2 hands? Do you have to run more?
Probably, and for stretching, and it's a bit harder. But I'm trying to play more one-handed shots when I'm under pressure, so I'm trying to get around that.
Yeah. And tonight you face Chris Dittmar, one of the game's dominant players over the last 10 years. He's world #3. He won the Grasshopper Cup last year, beating Jahangir. What do you think tonight?
Well, I played Chris a few times, and I've never really come that close to beating him. So tonight I'm just going to give him my best shot and see what happens.
Yeah, you hadn't beat Rodney before last night either.
No, that's true. Yeah, I'd lost to Rodney twice before. So I'm just going to try as hard as I can and not give anything away, and make it really hard for him.
You're back again at the Grasshoppers Cup. Last year you won it.
Yep.
You beat Jahangir Khan in the final, shortly before Jahangir won the British Open for a record 10th time. Yep. That must have been quite a win for you last year.
Yeah, I guess it was. At the time I felt pretty good about it, and it gave me a lot of confidence, but Jahangir, as you said, bounced back and went on to win the British Open, and in fact won a lot of tournaments at that time, so maybe I gave him the spark that he needed to go on and win those events. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, so you're back again this year, and your opponent tonight is going to be Peter Marshall,
yep,
who beat actually Rodney Martin, the world champion, last night. How does it look playing against a 2-handed player tonight in the final, young Peter Marshall?
Yeah, well, Peter's obviously a very good player, and I think at the moment his ranking probably doesn't I don't think it's a true indication of how good he is, because he has beaten some of the world's top 10 players. He's ranked in the world's top 16 at the moment, I think, but as I've said, he's beaten some of the world's best players and has proved that he is of that standard. So I realise I'm in for a pretty tough final, and I have to go into the match thinking of that. I have to think that Peter's going to put me under a lot of pressure. He's a very good retriever, he takes the ball very early, and I'll be aware of all those sorts of things. And as I've already said, I think it'll be a fairly hard match.
Any special tactics that you're going to use, because he's a 2-handed player?
Yeah, I've got special tactics.
And
yeah,
you'll let us know about that after the match, probably?
Probably not even then.
Okay, so you know how you want to play him, but you don't want to talk about that?
Sure.
That's understandable, that's clear. What about the rest of your career, Chris? You've been around a long time now. You're 28 years old. You've been in the top 10 for about 10 years.
Yeah.
That's an amazing feat. That means from the time of about 18, you've been up at the top there. Now, how do you see the rest of your future?
Yeah, well, it's probably one of those things that you really have to just take a week at a time, or maybe a month at a time. I don't try to look too far ahead for no other reason other than I think it's just important to focus on the next match. As you've mentioned, I have to play Peter Marshall in the final of the Grasshopper Cup tonight, and that's really what I think about today. Obviously, I think about how I'll beat Peter and what I think my strengths and weaknesses are, and how I'll go about that task. I then play the German Open starting tomorrow in Cologne. I then have to start thinking about that, and I really do just take it that way. I think too often we all make the mistake of thinking ahead and thinking what I think I can do and how good I can be and all of that type of thing, and I think it's a mistake, certainly in a sporting career anyway. You really must take each hurdle as it comes.
Well, Chris Dittmar, good luck tonight, and thank you very much for the interview, and we wish you a lot of luck for the German Open next week and the British Open.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Chris. So Chris Dittmar there, as formidable in the interview as he is on court. Andrew, is squash always such a serious business?
Well, I think when you're a professional, yes, obviously it is a serious thing, but it is possible to have the top guys in the world on court and have a good time.
Yes, well, we had an example of that, as you're going to see right now. So we're looking forward to the final. Chris Dittmar, the world number 3, as we've seen, in great form, against Peter Marshall, who's upset the world champion. Andrew, do you think there's going to be another upset here?
Well, personally, no. I think Dittmar's too strong and too experienced for Peter Marshall.
Playing well, isn't he?
Yes, Peter Marshall hasn't been for the number of years that Dittmar has on the top of the world rankings. And from style-wise, I think Dittmar's going to have too much ball control for him. I mean, Peter's not going to give him the game. He's not going to give up. He's going to run like he did against Rodney. But I don't think Dittmar will allow him the mistakes that Rodney did.
Yes, well, let's see if Chris Dittmar can hold the title of the Grasshopper Cup.
Grasshopper Cup final 1992. Peter Marshall to serve, Chris Dittmar to receive. Best of 5 games, love all.
So the unexpected final there, Chris.
Play ball.
Yes, well, Chris Dittmar I think most people were expecting, but not Peter Marshall. But thoroughly deserved win against the world champion. Let's see how this match shapes up. Peter Marshall already starting off at a cracking pace, how he's hitting the ball.
And out. Love all.
Yes, you're right.
He's laying into that, isn't he?
But I don't think really that's going to be the kind of thing to upset Dittmar. It's going to be the basic rule of moving the ball away from the middle. That I think is going to give Peter the best chance.
Dittmar can hit the ball hard too.
Yes. I mean, this is maybe one of the things for a club player to see, that when they want to hit the ball hard, they have to get that racket back early behind the ball. All top players getting the racket behind the ball as early as possible. I think the biggest advantage for club players in recent years is the development of new materials for the racket, because in the old days you really had to swing those wooden clubs, but nowadays quite often just a short swing and a flick of the wrist will get the ball to the back. It's also speeded the professional game up a lot. So Peter moving through there, trying to play the ball, but I think to his own disadvantage.
Certainly stuck on the wall when he tried to play that one. Didn't look for the net though. Oh, Dittmar laying into that one.
3 love.
My goodness.
So the player's not distracted by the spectators moving behind the back of the court.
Dittmar in trouble with that one.
Stroke to Peter and out. Love 3.
Clear stroke.
And the referee rightly breaking play there to make sure that the spectators don't move behind the court. Actually, with the new 4-wall glass courts that the players play on a lot of the time, they've actually got much more used to people moving around the court.
No let and out.
But
3 love.
obviously don't want people moving around the whole time.
Indication of the pace of the game here. Peter Marshall being forced to play the ball with one hand a few times there. A lovely drop shot.
And out.
Finish the rally.
Yeah, when he's got time
Love 3.
and space, he's got such deft touch with that two-handed drop shot. So I haven't picked up Dittmar's special tactics that he was talking about yet. Seems to be developing into quite a normal game.
And out. 3 love.
We've seen that Nick shot before. Dittmar.
I think both of them have decided that they're going to play at a very high pace. There was a one-handed shot that Peter wasn't ready for at all.
Would you attribute that to his two-handed play, the fact that he missed it that one, Andrew?
I think it's certainly difficult for him when he's rushed to take one hand off the racket, and especially on the forehand side to open the racket face to get the ball back on the front wall. Again there, putting the boast into the tin. Not able to lift the ball. The racket face was closed, and obviously the ball could not make it up onto the front wall. I certainly think if I was playing him, I'd be looking to put him under pressure on his forehand. I mean, if he's got time there, obviously he's going to do anything with the ball, but Dittmar can get the cross courts across quick enough and fast enough. I think that's going to put Peter in a lot of trouble. He certainly won't be able to pressurise Dittmar when he does that. And the ball being very accurately placed into the back corners here.
And there it goes. Can't get more accurate than that one.
No, that's
3 in a row.
To the left.
a great shot.
6 love.
Probably the least appreciated shot in squash, the length. But
Dittmar played a series of those to get the point out of Peter Marshall.
don't forget Dittmar saying in an interview once that everybody thinks he's a great shot player, but in fact he thinks his game's based on hitting the ball to length.
And
Again, Peter Marshall didn't seem to be
7
ready
love.
with his racket there to play that one.
No, I think he'd have done better to have put the ball up as a lob and got some time to get back into that rally. Mind you, it's easy for us to
Sitting up here.
tell them what to do, huh?
I think we've got a little bit used to this fast pace on the court. They're still hitting the ball very, very fast, moving around the court. Something that doesn't always come over on the television.
The thing to watch for is to see how far the players have to move away from the tee. That really is quick.
Wow, Peter Marshall seemed to pick the ball straight out of the nick there. My goodness. They make it look so easy, don't they?
Certainly do.
They get a little bit more impression of the movement that's involved. It was a long, hard and fast rally, Andrew.
Yes, I saw Dittmar stop and take a breath there.
7.
He's a big man to be moving around at this kind of pace, isn't he? But he's been up the world, top of the world for 10 years now. He has the strength to carry it.
That's in fact the one thing he's improved the most over the last 2 years in his quest to beat the Khans. And here at love 7, looking in a commanding position in the first game. I don't think I've seen a mistake yet, Chris, from him.
Well, we have now.
Yeah, I walked into that one, didn't I, huh?
So, Peter's on the score sheet, 1-7.
I think we could actually say that was forced, Chris.
Exterior influences. Dittmar laying into the ball again here. He's not letting up on the pace at all. Peter going full with him all the way.
I just get the feeling that Dittmar's spending more time on the tee than Peter. Peter's racket work, not moving the ball as far away from the tee.
2-7.
Dittmar getting in the way of his own shot there, giving the ball up. He knew it was a stroke for Peter.
Something it might be nice to see a few club players do.
Yes, yes. Certainly would help to bring a bit of fairness into the game.
No let. And that.
He's
7-2.
looking for a let there, I don't know. He didn't show any signs of being disappointed about not getting it.
I think the referee rightly deciding that there wasn't enough effort.
And that was into the
8
nick
to
at the
game
back,
ball.
bringing 8 to the first game ball for Chris Dittmar.
Tight lengths into the back court again.
It's quite a contrast, isn't it? These beautiful strokes from Dittmar and Peter Marshall. It almost looks laboured. He seems to have to work so much to hit the ball and move to get into position to hit the ball.
I think you're right, Chris, but as he said in his interview, he's done it since he was 8 years old, and he's developed that style.
He's up there with the world leaders with this two-handed style.
So again, a very long rally at game ball. Dittmar just seems to be biding his time. Again, taking the ball on the volley, moving Peter away from the tee all the time.
Yeah, beautiful both. Finish off this game. So here's a chance to look at that long rally in the first set again from this front camera angle. You can see the accuracy of the balls hit into the back corner. See Dittmar mostly on the tee, dominating the play from the tee. Peter Marshall hardly able to get him away from the tee. And then when he's got him away, Dittmar's there as quick as he can to gain this dominant position.
Again, just that early preparation on the ball. You see it so well from here.
Straight into the corner there. When he's forced away from the tee, Dittmar's back there with a stretch. So hard for Peter to get Dittmar away from the tee.
But I think the boast might be the key, huh?
Well, I don't know if the audience has been counting the shots. It's a long, very long rally. And at this
My
kind of
goodness,
pace,
there we go, 63, Chris.
and at that pace.
Chris leads 1-0. Second game level.
So into the second game. What can Peter do to change the course of this match?
I think he's obviously been thinking in the break about what he's going to do.
Left ball. Level.
And like I said, I think he's got to be a little bit more positive to move Dittmar off the tee into the front rather than just relying on balls to the back all the time.
Left ball. Level.
Dittmar not ready to play a winning shot, so just getting the let ball from the referee. There we go, the shot down the side wall showing the tightness of the ball into the back corner.
And the front on some of these.
Look at that.
Oh, I had to get right into the camera to get that one out.
And then the lob to get time to get back to the middle.
Of course, that's one reason why you almost can't get Dittmar away from the tee. When he is away, he does use the lob well to get him back there.
Exactly.
He wins time when he can.
I think it's probably the most forgotten fact in squash that there's actually a wall that's more than 2 meters high.
Both players pulling the ball out of the nick here at the moment.
That's
Power's up.
unbelievable.
1 love.
And then it's just back into the next rally, huh? As if nothing ever happened.
Let ball. 1 love.
And Dittmar having to move a little bit quicker there. A couple of volleys from Peter Marshall.
Can't imagine it's a shot that Peter finds easy to play with, with 2 hands. So you've got to take the ball early on the volley.
I think it's he'll play when he's got enough time, but when the ball comes across very quickly, I think a reaction volley's a little bit difficult.
Well, we've got Peter here working Chris Dittmar.
I've seen he's starting to use the boast now.
He must have been listening to you, Andrew.
I think that's probably something that he can work out for himself. So tight into those back corners. And again, a really long rally. I don't think we're seeing anything under 50 shots at the moment.
Looking for a
Let
let there.
And Dittmar
Press
just
on the left.
in the way of the backswing.
1 love.
All that
Again.
work and
Yes.
just a let at the end of it. Tight both from Peter Marshall.
Let ball.
And
1 love.
again, just the movement into the front court blocked by Dittmar.
Let ball. 1 love.
I wonder.
Was there a lot of effort?
I think Dittmar was happy to take a let out of that one, but I must say up until now, the refereeing has been absolutely
Yeah.
correct.
And that. Love 1.
Oh, rare mistake from
1
Dittmar.
all.
At that time he was a little late to prepare.
Almost on court with the players there.
Out of court. And that. 1 all.
Well, what about that one? Straight through the middle. What do you think, Andrew?
Caught Peter totally by surprise, and
2-1.
there's a little pirouette in the middle there. Been interesting if he called a let. Probably the kind of situations a referee that you hope they don't.
Yes. I must say, with Peter Marshall there, he doesn't seem to call very many lets. He seems to try and go through every time and play the ball where possible, where players of Dittmar's experience would call the let. I must say, it makes for a very sporting game, but I wonder sometimes if that's not a little bit of naivety from Peter Marshall.
Well, the Australians are certainly renowned for playing much more on the referee, but I mean, if it's to your disadvantage, I think you should stop, and maybe that's something Peter's going to learn as he spends more years on the circuit. But referees today are certainly very much in favour of keeping the flow in the game.
Oh, what a nice cross-court drop from Dittmar.
But look at the way he held it. And that was the fact there. He really kept the shot back till very late, and then just a little flick of the wrist sent the ball across court.
Oh, length.
And again,
We got a great view of that one.
that flick of the wrist again.
Uh,
5-1.
Peter not happy, huh?
Looked a bit rattled on that one, didn't he?
Knew it was a cheap shot.
Of course, the mark of players at this standard, they soon forget mistakes or bad shots or bad calls, and they get into the business again and just play the next ball, as Dittmar says.
Certainly.
Peter looking for a let there.
Let ball. 5-1.
See there how he sort of flings himself at full stretch onto those balls. And once again that cross.
On the left.
I mean, Dittmar just holds the shot so
6-1.
late. I mean, you have to cover everything. And once he knows where you are, he just flicks the ball across in the opposite direction.
Peter
7-1.
rightly says, come on, he's lost a little bit of his concentration here. He's having to struggle to stay in the game at the moment, Peter. He's succeeded in moving Dittmar around the court a bit more, but he's still only got 1 point out of this game for all his efforts.
Well, maybe it will tell later. Dittmar having to use the back wall to get the ball back there. But again,
Always using the height when he's away from the tee, isn't he?
yes.
Wins time to get back there. Getting the lob.
Again there, I thought Peter could have volleyed. If he could just do that a little bit more often as well, he can keep.
He's slowed Chris Dittmar up at the moment. Surely it would be...
Stroke to Chris.
Well, Peter doesn't feel he was in the way of the shot there. Andrew?
From the left.
Very tight. I think the referee thinking that
From the left side.
Peter was preventing Chris from
8-1
playing a
game
winning
ball.
shot to the front wall, but did he see it early enough? That would have been the question in my mind. But he's made his decision.
Out.
Mm.
And out.
Dittmar won't like that.
1-8.
He doesn't like hitting anything out of court, and he's usually so safe on the lob there.
It's the perfectionist in him.
Tight post. Dittmar having to move to recover the ball.
Let's move a little bit quicker.
Thank you.
Dittmar showing there that he didn't get the ball up on the first attempt there. Again,
2-8.
fairness. Well, this is a lesson for any player, I would say, Andrew. That Peter Marshall, he's down 2-8 there, and he's putting everything in to get back in here. He's not saying, well, my opponent's got 8 and he's almost got the set, I might as well give it up. He's really getting into Chris Dittmar at the moment, getting himself back into the game.
That's probably one thing if you ask the players, do you actually know the score while you're hitting the ball? They would say no.
Just playing the next ball.
Yes, I'm trying to get on with winning the next point.
Peter Marshall seems to be more in control at this stage.
Right, there it was. Dittmar right in the corner.
3-8.
So again, we're seeing more and more of that boast from Peter Marshall.
And we're seeing more and more lobs from Chris Dittmar. He seems to have slowed down a little bit.
I think
A few rallies.
he's realised that the only way to get out of that short play from
And that.
Peter Marshall is to
8-3
put
game
the
ball.
ball up in the air.
But again, game ball now for Dittmar.
I think that's the fascinating thing about a good game, is this tactical battle.
Game 9-3.
Yes, and Peter not asking for a let
Very-
there. There's no
very
way he would have
fair,
reached
yes.
that. So let's take a look back in that second game. I think the point where Peter started to maybe turn the tables a little bit. It was another very long rally, but it was one where Peter managed to get Dittmar away from the tee. As we talked about earlier on, he started to play the ball more short and then pull Dittmar into the back of the court. And if you just watch Dittmar's movement in this rally, I think you'll see that he's having to take more steps away from the middle. And even use the back wall. That's when you really know that a player's in trouble, when he's got to put the ball up onto the back wall to reach the front again. But it's still a very long process to get a point. And there's the boast again. And Dittmar stopped at the end, and there was that controversial decision about the
60th
stroke.
stroke of the game, that one.
Yes,
Long rally.
Games to love. Love all.
I don't think 90 seconds was long enough for Peter there. Still seems to be recovering.
Yes, well, he strikes me after that last game as a player who likes to have a scrap when the going's tough. Seems to be able to concentrate and get in there and fight, which is what, of course, he's going to have to do now at 2 down. Dittmar putting the pressure on right from the beginning of this game.
to the left. One
Well,
love.
Forcing the first mistake.
Peter's certainly going to have to keep up with those tactics that he started using in the second game. But obviously without making the error like he did there.
Stroke to Peter, hand out. Love 1.
So clear hitting problem there. Peter unable to hit the ball as Dittmar's shot came straight back to himself.
Down. 1-all.
The ball doesn't go any slower, does it?
No. Both of them determined to keep the pace up. This really is something that I think a lot of people watching who don't play the game might find hard to realize the pace the game is played at, and the endurance that the players have to keep this pace up over 3 or even maybe 5 games.
Yeah, the thing is, because the racket work looks so smooth and so easy, you don't really see the physical exertion that's going on. But here, I mean, lunging into the front, then off to the back of the court.
It's non-stop, isn't it?
Yes.
Under pressure there. Still got it back. Lovely drop.
And so I think they're seeing Dittmar's having to start to have to boast the ball to get it back, and Peter taking full advantage. Before, Dittmar was really choosing when to boast. And that's a sign that Peter's length is improving. And Dittmar got to move all the way back there.
And look at that, they were both at the front of the court a few minutes ago. To the back, to the front again. Very tight. Unbelievable. The pickups that both players are bringing here.
There's that one-handed
Down.
shove down the wall here.
Now, was that the tired shot? A lot of hard work in that, really. Both players having to move
3-1.
the full length of the court.
Well, this is where discipline takes over now. After a rally like that, you just mustn't play the easy winner.
Like that.
I don't think that one was easy.
4-1.
Amazingly accurate. That's about the 4th time in this match we've seen that drop shot from Peter. Same position. Although Peter's two games down, I get the feeling that Dittmar's having to grit his teeth here.
No, it's always a nice situation though to have 2 games in hand, but always dangerous to relax.
That ball.
I think Dittmar looking for the
Pin on the
stroke there.
4-1.
Again, the referee having to decide whether he was ready for a winning stroke or not. And if he decides he's not, then he must call the let ball rather than the stroke. Again, Peter electing to play the ball rather than call the let.
That ball. 4-1.
Dittmar not able to, obviously, there because stroke was totally impeded.
And backswing. Right?
Yes.
Straight to Chris. And add 1-4.
So Peter unable to get out of the way of his own drop shot in time, and Dittmar calling the let ball and being given the straight because Peter wasn't out of the way. Oh, what touch.
2-4.
That ball hardly came away from the front wall.
Well, Peter hit the nick twice there. And just had to pick both of them up.
But certainly that ball from Peter Marshall going much more regularly into the front of the court, boasting him a lot at the moment.
Under pressure there too, lifting the ball up to gain time. This is hard work, isn't it? And they just keep it going. From one nick to the other, from one corner to the other, until it just can't be played.
Back, yes.
A lot of strength, that rally. You can see it on both players now.
3-4.
Peter seems to always be
3-4.
bending over after these long rallies, as if he's really is totally finished.
Makes you wonder why, because he can't probably breathe like that, and any coach will tell you to stand up straight when you're trying to get your breath.
But he gets up afterwards, doesn't he, and he keeps running.
Yes. Great cross court from Chris Dittmar.
And 5-4.
I think Peter is feeling it here.
Well, if he wins this game, he's still got to win 2 more. I wonder if that thought's going through his mind
6-4.
now.
Well, 6-4 down, he's certainly got a lot of work to do to take this game.
Again, that drop shot. So accurate.
And add 4-6.
Very
Turn
late
Dittmar.
cross court, huh?
Dittmar's back up there. And Dittmar was running from one corner to the other there.
I wonder whether he actually deliberately hit that ball of his
5-6.
onto the side wall to try and get it to fly back at Peter's body. Now Dittmar's
6-all.
turn to play the cheap shot. Oh, that's fantastic.
7-6.
to admire the fighting qualities of Peter's play here. Must be tired, but he's getting in there. He's determined to have a go at winning this game. Both players slipping there.
It's still up. Twice off the back wall from Dittmar.
Makes you wonder why Peter went through to play that one.
Well, it's not the first time either.
And out. Six, 7.
He knows it.
7 all.
It's a shame, really. Peter was fighting back so well there.
It's shots like that that cost matches.
Let ball.
Again, clear movement let into the front of the court.
7 all.
And this is, I think, the stage of the match where it's really all down to routine. The guy who's been in this kind of situation more often tends to play the right shot at the right time. Somehow the game seems to have got tight again. Both players once again having to move away from the tee the whole time.
Let ball.
Yes, Dittmar said he's looking
Well,
for a
left side.
stroke off there, and it's a let.
Well, I think his comment was right. It was a stroke before, but the question was the stroke
7
before the
all.
right decision?
Yes. That's the professional in Dittmar there at that situation, looking for a stroke. He needs a couple of points still. Tight drop shot from Dittmar.
And
Well,
And he started
And
to
out.
play this straight drop shot off Peter's bows. Before he was
7
just
all.
putting them back again, but now he started to play the ball short. Paid the price there. The power moving onto that ball.
and out. 7
perfect
all.
shot into the back corner to win back the serve.
Looks like Dittmar's changed the pace now.
I think he's looking to finish this game.
That's it, just the change of pace created the opening.
To the
And
left.
that's created first match
8-7
ball
match ball.
for Chris Dittmar. Oh, cheeky shot. Oh, at full stretch, Peter Marshall is having to hang in now. Ken at full stretch. He's not going to give this up, Peter Marshall. He won't make that. Chris Dittmar, the winner of the Grasshopper Cup 1992.
9-3, 9-7.
9-2, 9-3, 9-7. Very tight at the end, but a deserved victory from Chris Dittmar. And it's goodbye from myself, Chris Haddon, and Andrew Marshall in Zurich in the Grasshopper Cup 1992.